For a company to obtain a retail business license in a particular state, a company is required to pay state the equivalent of 3 months sales tax on its projected sales. The amount is fully refundable after 5 years, provided the company has all the required sales tax returns and paid all the sales tax due. Initially, the company should report the payment related to this licensing requirement as a current asset, as an expense, as a non-current liability, or a non-current asset. Your answer is correct. Yes, correct answer is D. C. What question is particularly saying that you want to run a business in a particular state. For that, you are paying certain advance taxes. Now, these taxes are fully refundable to you. So think about your own self. Suppose you are staying in US and you are paying, let's say, IRS $1,000 of tax in advance, and IRS is going to pay this tax back to you after 5 years. So can I say this tax which you paid is not an expense for you because you are going to get refund of this particular tax? So it's a
Mm.
receivable. Since it's a receivable, it's an asset for you. Now the question is whether it's a current asset or a non-current asset. Now, since you are going to get refund after 5 years, it is a long term in nature because it's an operating cycle or 1 year, whichever is longer. Question does not say anything about operating cycle, so we assume anything beyond 12 months is a long term in nature. So these taxes are refundable after 5 years, which is your asset. Since it's a 5 years, it's a long term. So the correct answer is option D, a non-current asset.
But isn't like a tax a liability that we are saving?
Tax is generally your liability, but here you are supposed to pay tax in the nature of the fee, which are fully refundable for you. So taxes, if they are not refundable, then it's expense for you. So you pay and you forget. But these are kind of a security deposit which you are keeping with the government in the name of taxes.
Okay. Mm. Here, I think my main problem is that I don't know when I have to divide or when I have to multiply the value with the exchange rate. That's what I'm
They
getting wrong.
would be giving you that particular item. So let's read what they are saying. As Incorporation, a US company, imported a goods of 50,000 euro on 1st December and paid them in euros. Following exchange rates were applicable. So what they are saying that you are a US based company. So your home currency is US dollar. So for 1 US dollar, you have to pay 0.79 euros as what the question suggests. And then accordingly you have to 50,000 is your euros, so 50,000 is the euro, 0.79 is the euro. Now you have to write an equation that 1 US dollar is equal to 0.79 euro. So if 50,000 euros are there, what is the equivalent US dollar value on 10th of December? Then you have your rate changes to 0.82. So what is the equivalent dollar value on 31st of December? On that particular day, you have to check whether you are purchasing or selling and whether you have a gain or loss on that particular transaction. आपने इसका सोल्यूशन किया है क्या? एक बार कुछ दिखाओगे इसका वर्किंग नोट?
It's, it's when they have converted it to dollars. Uh, Here, I just wanted to know, like, if we'll divide or we'll multiply with the rate. That's what I'm confused.
You have to divide. See, open one Excel file. Now put a equation that 1 US dollar is equal to 0.79 euro. So 1 USD is equal to 0.79 euros. Now in the question you are given 50,000 euros. So typical mathematical equation. So if you can just write 1 is equal to 0.79. So 50,000 euros are how many US dollars? So it's a cross multiplication. So 50,000 into 1 divided by 0.79.
Yeah, I get that.
So you don't have to remember multiplying or dividing, just write the equation, see which side your currency is coming, and then automatically mathematics will take place.
Yeah, I just wanted to see like if we can get it from the table because the table a lot of times like in the MCQs the table differs. Sometimes here it will be euro, sometimes they'll mention USD. So I just wanted to know if there was direct, if it's Europe or I have to multiply or divide.
It depends on case to case how it is written in the language. Okay, so what is this one? Ignoring the taxes, which of the following situation will cause comprehensive income to decrease? First of all, it is not other comprehensive income. So understand a concept that comprehensive income is equal to net income plus other comprehensive income. So you are asked comprehensive income, which is a total of P&L plus OCI. So dividend payout, it doesn't go in P&L. So definitely that's A is wrong answer. Let's ignore B for a time being. Let's come to C. Unrealized gain on available for sale security. This goes to other comprehensive income, but it's a gain. So it is going to increase your comprehensive income. So C is again incorrect answer. Amortization of actuarial pension loss. Now, this is the item which goes into the OCI. So D could be the correct answer. Now let's understand unrealized loss on trading security. Now that is also a true answer. So if it's available for sale, it goes to OCI. If it's a trading security, it goes to the income statement directly. When we will do financial instrument, we will understand. Now, as I said multiple times in CPA exams, you will see two correct answers given out of four. So you have to choose a best possible answer. Now, if you are preparing a single step income statement, a single statement, then option B and option D both could be your correct answer. But if you are preparing a multi-step income statement, that means the first statement is only about net income and second statement is only about OCI, then only and only option B is your correct answer. So if you now think both options, single statement P&L versus multi-statement P&L, B is common correct answer. D is common answer only if you are preparing a single statement. So both seems correct, but given the choices, option B is more reliable and correct answer.
How does a single statement
So
changes
when you
things?
prepare So when you prepare a single statement, it is called net income plus other comprehensive income is equal to comprehensive income. When you prepare a multi-step income statement, you first of all have only one P&L. After that, you prepare another statement, which is called a statement of comprehensive income. So your headers are getting changed. If you open yesterday's file, yesterday's format, when you are preparing a one statement, it is called statement of comprehensive income. But when you prepare a multi-step, the first P&L, it is called statement of earnings or statement of net income. And the second statement, it is called statement of other comprehensive income. You have a two different statements there. So kind of trick question, complicated question. D is also not wrong answer. It also decreases, but given the option B is more reliable answer.
Amortization subtracts the value of pension or
Yes, it subtracts the value of the pension. So what they are saying, D is incorrect. Amortization of actual loss will cause other comprehensive income to increase. No, it doesn't increase. It's a loss, so loss always decreases. This explanation is not right. While increasing the pension expense, causing the net income to decrease. No, this is not the right answer. Amortization itself is an expense. It is not an asset item. So I think given the choice B and D both are correct, but B is more reliable. So we will go with the B option.
okay. Hmm. Also, I wanted to ask that if we are making changes to amortization expense in a prior period, where do we reflect it in the current year or do we change in the previous years?
So for the actual cost, let's ignore because it is no longer in the syllabus. It is a complicated topic. You have to check whether it's a defined benefit plan,
No,
defined contribution.
no. This is a note. This is not related to the question. This is a note I made while doing questions.
Yes, it is not a generic topic. Generally, everything goes to the OCI because it's a part of base. But it depends. If it's a present service cost related items, it may go to the income statement. So it is not a straightforward one-liner. Generally, anything which is covered under base, P covers your pension adjustment. So all goes to the OCI, subject to certain exceptions.
And losses in equity securities go to income statement.
Yes, if it is for trading securities, it goes to the income statement. Available for sale, it goes to the OCI. So that part we will cover in your FAR 5 section when we will see financial instruments.
Okay. Also, in one question, they changed the depreciation years from 10 years to 5 years. Uh,
Mhm.
but in that case, I cannot change the depreciation for the previous years. I have to only calculate it for the remaining years.
Yes, now this is an exception again. So what we learned in first session that change in accounting method, it's a retrospective effect. Only exception is depreciation. So even if depreciation is change in accounting principle, it has only and only prospective impact. So when we'll do PP&E, we'll understand this concept.
Okay.
Okay, all right, let's start with a new fresh topic. We are starting with EPS and your SEC reporting. I think we should be able to cover everything by this session. So let me share my screen. Let's understand what topics we are going to cover in today's session. We are going to learn about SEC reporting, that is 10K, 10Q, 8K. There are a lot more regulation SX and SK, all those things are there, but more detailed are given in the bar section of the CPA exam. So we will just focus what is given on the FAR section in this particular session, and we'll understand how basic EPS are getting calculated. We'll understand how capital structures, if they are complex, how EPS are calculated, how diluted and anti-dilutive EPSs are calculated, and then we will try to practice some MCQ and simulation. Together, we will continue to see the book. Now, starting with the first topic, SEC reporting requirements. So, first of all, what is SEC? So, SEC stands for Security Exchange Commission. It's a regulatory authority for all the company which are having a public float or which are the issuer. Now, these two are very technical word which you need to understand when you learn about SEC. Now, the SEC topic is going to come across four subjects of your CPA. Accounting, our main focus is to understand what sort of forms and what sort of frequency it needs to be filed. Then you go to a bar section. So along with the frequency, you will have a lot more content. There will be regulation SX and regulation SK, which will denote what needs to be filed, how it needs to be filed. And then when you go to a audit section, you will go in the shoes of the auditor, and you will check whether everything done by the company, by the management is correct or not. Now, सबसे पहले SEC आया कब? So SEC has been formulated by the SOX Sarbanes-Oxley Act. There were a lot of frauds which were going on in the United States, and then finally an SEC regulations comes into a picture to regain the trust of the investors. Now, SEC reporting requirements are generally applicable only to the issuers. Issuers का मतलब the public company which has the public float. So if you are issuing your shares, your securities to the general public, SEC reporting is applicable. Now there are a lot of things which are only applicable for the company which have the SEC reporting as a mandatory requirements. For example, US GAAP never ask you to prepare a comparative financial statement, but SEC reporting requires to show a certain number of years as a comparative financial statements. So even the US GAAP doesn't ask you to prepare the comparative financials, SEC reporting asks you to prepare. SEC reporting makes auditors requirement very, very strict. It asks which audit firms can do the audits of the listed company, That is something called PCAOB, which is a Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. A CPA firm has to be registered with PCAOB if they want to issue, if they want to do the audit of a SEC registered entity. Plus, there are lot strict requirements coming from the auditor's independence point of view. For example, if you are a non-public company, then you can do a couple of things along with the audit services, like consulting work you can do, tax services you can do. But if you are a public company coming under SEC as an auditor, you can only select a one assignment. Either you can do accounting, either you can do auditing, either you can do consulting. You cannot perform a multiple services at a one go. So SEC has bring a lot of discipline and lot of strict requirements both for the company and both for the auditor. So how accounting needs to be maintained, very strict. How SEC filing needs to be done, very strict. And then for the auditors, whether they can do audit of the certain things, whether they can do extra work for the same client, very strict reporting requirements are filed. Now SEC has more than 50 to 60 forms, but not all the forms are not in our syllabus. For CPA exam point of view, we are focused more on 10K, 10Q, and 8K, three forms only. So let's understand what is Form 10K and what is Form 10Q and Form 8K. So 10K is nothing but your annual financial statement filing. It's an annual report. So at the year end, you are going to file your balance sheet, your P&L, your income statement, your cash flow, changes in equity, notes to accounts, all those things you will file under the Form 10K. 10Q, it's the same financial reporting, but it's a quarterly filing, and these are unaudited financial statement. So when you talk about 10K, you talk about audited financial statements. When you talk about 10Q, these are unaudited quarterly financial statements. And then it comes to a Form 8K. So Form 8K talks about a lot of events. There are list of events which we will cover in the next slide. So if any event is triggering, you only have a 4 days of time to notify the SEC. For example, you change the auditors. Within 4 days, you have to inform the SEC. So for example, you have decided to go for a bankruptcy merger. Your directors are changing, your key managerial personnels are changing, you are changing, let's say discontinuing operation, you have taken that decision. All those events, once they occur, you have a 4 days of time and you have to file all this requirement to the SEC. So if you can see, it's a very strict requirement. 4 days is very less time which SEC is offering. Now, how soon this form needs to be filed? So Form 10K needs to be filed within 60, 75 or 90 days after the year end. So there are three different requirements. If you are a large company, large accelerated company, which means if you have a public float of 700 million or more, then you are supposed to file everything within 60 days from the end of the financial year. If you are a medium accelerated filler, which means you have a public float of 75 million plus up to 700 million, and you have an annual revenue of 100 million, then you are supposed to file everything within 75 days. Other than this two category, you are supposed to file within 90 days of time. Same goes for quarterly reporting. You have a timeline of 40 or 45 days. So if you are a 700 million or more public float, you have a 40 days time. Rest all the type of the entity, you have a 45 days of time to file the reporting. Form 8K, you don't have a lot of choice. You just have a 4 business days to file once the event take place. So here are the filing deadlines requirement. So 60, 75, 90. If you are a large company that is 700 plus public float, 60 days. 75 million to 700 million plus 100 million of annual revenue, you have a 75 days time. Other than this, you have a 90 days of time. Now there are certain other information which you file as a part of your MD&A analysis, which is management discussion and analysis report. So what particular items you go and disclose in the MD&A? So under MD&A, you are going to give a lot of company level information, that what are your financial conditions and the liquidity, what is the summary of the results, trend, risk, uncertainties in the market, any material changes that have taken place in the current year versus prior year, any critical accounting assumptions, accounting estimate based on which financials are prepared, sensitivity analysis, value at risk analysis. So you basically say that your current product has having a sales growth of 10%, but let's say if the sales goes by 20%, this would be our future profit. If sales is only 2%, this is going to be our profit for the next year. So you have to prepare a
And
sensitivity. Sorry.
uh, MD&A and market disclosures are two different things.
So MD&A is a broader term. It's still a part of your or 10K, 10Q filing only. MD&A is a one of the section which they have given. Market risk disclosure is again another section. In a broad sense, these are all the disclosure requirement which you give under the form 10K. So these are just a different sections in a one particular report. Like key highlights, what you file in 10K reports.
Okay.
Then you give the quantitative information, mostly a ratio analysis you provide to the company. You give a qualitative information on the risk. For example, let's say you say that you have a 30% revenue is coming from the African countries. African countries have a bad political situation, so the growth for the next year can be deteriorated. So any changes it has taken place in the current year versus the previous year. For example, any merger, acquisition, any proposed merger is going to come up. So MD&A is all about all the material events that has happened to the company over last 12 months, financially plus non-financially, plus any sensitivity or a risk analysis for the coming year. So these are the certain additional disclosure you made. Now the question is, when you do a 10K filing, how many years of financial statements you are supposed to file? So it is coming on the guidance is coming under part 2. So it says that when you are doing a 10K filing, the balance sheet has to be two most recent fiscal years. So suppose you are filing a balance sheet for 2025. So you are going to present 2025 along with 2024. Income statement, cash flow statement, and equity statement, you are supposed to file a 3 years. So suppose you are filing for 2025, so you will have a one column for 2025, one for 2024, and one for 2023. You'll have to accompany an independent auditor's report along with your financial statement. Plus, you need to give a one certificate from CEO and CFO of the company that all the accounting are accurately prepared and presented in the financial statements. So now these are very, very important. Point one, point two. A lot MCQs will come here. So balance sheet again, 2 fiscal years. And rest all the financial statements, income statement, cash flow statement, and equity, 3 fiscal years needs to be presented. Going to further in 10Q. So 10Q is nothing but a similar fashion how 10K is prepared. But 10Q is done the quarterly basis. It is interim financial reporting. They are unaudited financial statement. You may have a condensed format. So you may not have such a big format like you have for 10K. Shorter formats are okay. So as now name suggests, it's a 10Q. So for first quarter, you can file only 10Q. Second quarter, you can file only 10Q. Third quarter, you can file only 10Q. But fourth quarter, by default, it will be 10K, which is the annual financial reporting. Same things you will give. You will file the financial statements. You will give the management discussion and analysis. You will give the market risk information. What is the timeline? If you are a public float of 700 million plus 40 days, other all the entities you have a 45 days of time. So we covered 10K. What are the 10K reporting requirements? What are the 10Q reporting requirements? And now the third form, which is form 8K. So 8K is a current reporting requirement. Whenever any material change happens to your business, you are supposed to do this filing within 4 business days. Few examples are only given here. Suppose you are going for a bankruptcy or receivership, file within 4 days. You are having a significant acquisition or a disposal of your assets, 4 days. Change in your CPA audit firm, 4 days. Changes in the security, trading markets, class of securities, 4 days. Change in the board of directors or the chief officers, 4 days. Amending your bylaws or the or the articles of incorporation, 4 days. If you decide to change your fiscal year, 4 days. If you have a material definitive agreements, we will see later on what are these agreements. You have a 4 days. Financial statements, if you amend any prior years, you have a 4 days. So any big event in the company, if happens, you generally have a 4 days of time period within which you need to find your form 8K, giving the information about the change in the material event. Coming back again here, we saw when it's a 10K, what sort of financial you need to file. Balance sheet 2 years, income statement and all others for the 3 years. We have to still talk that about 10Q. So how many P&L, balance sheet, cash flow, equity, all those things needs to be filed. So I'm giving you one chart and you can quickly copy that because this is in your backer book. It's very confusing. The language is not easy to read. Copy this table. This table is going to give you problem solution for a lot of MCQs. I'm explaining you what is the crux of this and then you can copy it. So what we are saying for the Q1, Q2, Q3, you can by default file only form 10Q because it's a quarterly financial reporting. So what are the reporting requirements? So balance sheet you need to file for the current quarter versus previous financial year end. This is very important. Current quarter versus previous financial year end. So for quarter one, it will be Q1 25 versus Q4 24. For Q2 25, your balance sheet will be Q2 25 versus Q4 24. For Q3 25, it will be Q3 25 versus Q4 24. We'll ignore 10K for a moment. Then it comes to the income statement and cash flow statement. These two are similar. So for Q1, you will find for Q1 25 versus Q1 24. Both cash flow, Q1 25 versus Q1 24. For Q2 25, you will file for the current quarter last year, YTD current year, YTD previous year. So for the Q2 25, you will file Q2 25, Q2 24, Q1 plus Q2 25, Q1 plus Q2 24. For Q3, you will
Sorry, can you repeat both Q and Q?
okay. So income statement and cash flow statement, what you are supposed to file. So you are supposed to file the current quarter versus same quarter last year. Plus you are supposed to file YTD current year plus YTD last year.
What is YTD?
Year to date. So for example, if you are in Q2 25, you are filing Q2 25, which is current quarter, Q2 24, same quarter last year. So Q2 25, Q2 24, YTD current year. So Q1 25 plus Q2 25, Q1 24 plus Q2 24. Suppose you are in Q3, what you are filing current quarter Q3 25, same quarter last year, Q3 24. YTD Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3 25, Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3 24. And same requirements are applicable for your cash flow statement too. Now, this is where they tweak in MCQ a lot. They will say that a company is having a quarterly reporting, which all years they needs to file, let's say, cash flow statement, statement of changes in equity, or a balance sheet. If it's a balance sheet, these are the rules applicable. If it's an income statement, cash flow statement, or changes in equity, this particular common rules are applicable. And then
For
finally, it comes to 10K, which is annual reporting. So annual reporting, which we already saw, we saw that when you are doing annual reporting, you file a 2 years of balance sheet and rest all for 3 years. So 2 years, Q4 25, Q4 24, so two balance sheet plus three income statement, full year 25, full year 24, full year 23, cash flow and changes in equity, full year 25, full year 24 and full year 23. पहले ये पर्टिकुलर चार्ट को प्रॉपर कॉपी कर लो. We'll go to backer book, we'll read English, it's very confusing, and again we will come back for this table and we will reread this particular table, then it will be crystal clear for you.
बैलेंस शीट फुल ईयर के लिए नहीं होगी?
Balance sheet is always as on date. So Q4 25 means as on December 25. Q4 24 means as on December 24.
ओके।
ठीक है, एक बार इसको देख लो. देन वी हैव SEC डन. वी विल कंप्लीटली लुक एट इन योर बैकर एंड देन वी विल कम बैक फॉर दिस टेबल अगेन. ये टेबल आपको बहुत हेल्प करेगा फॉर योर MCQ. बैकर की बुक में आप रीड करोगे, यू विल गेट मैड विद देयर लैंग्वेज बिकॉज इंग्लिश इज वेरी वेरी ट्रिकी देयर.
हम्म, हम्म, ओके।
ठीक है. So let's
जी।
read through and then we will come back to this table again. Let's read what it is saying. EPS and public company reporting requirements. Security and Exchange Commission requires more than 50 forms, but not all in your syllabus. We are only talking about three big forms. The first form is Form 10K. So Form 10K is an annual report that US registered companies, or another word is issuers, they must file for their current and prospective investors. कब कब आपको फाइल करना है? Either you have a 60 days time or you have a 75 days time or 90 days time. 700 million के ऊपर है 60 days. 75 to 700 million plus 100 million revenue है 75 days. For all other 90 days. So all these caps are given here: 700 million, 75 million, 100 million of revenue. You can refer our slide for a quick view rather than going to read all this English. And you have a certain MD&A. So same again topics which we saw in the slide. आप MD&A management discussion and analysis में काफी सारी चीजें report करते हो. You report material information about the financial conditions, operations का results क्या है, what is the liquidity situation, summarizing the financial and operating results, trend, risk, material changes that have taken place in the current year versus previous year, critical accounting estimates and accounting assumptions to prepare the financial statements. You also further disclose quantitative and qualitative aspects about the market risk and other financial supplementary data. Now, when you talk about financial and supplementary data, it talks about आपको कितने साल का information file करना है. Now we will refer Excel together with this English and let's try to clear that
Uh,
particular table clearly.
I
So
need to
what we have,
memorize all this.
not all this, but yes, this table you need to memorize. They will ask you for which periods needs to be reported on the SEC reporting.
Okay.
So let's understand this particular very important item 8. So you are supposed to file audited financial statement, balance sheet for the two recent fiscal years. So what we say balance sheet for 10K, we are talking about 10K here. So we are talking about two balance sheets, Q4 25, Q4 24. These are always as on date. So balance sheet of 2025, balance sheet of 2024. Income statement and statement of comprehensive income for the three fiscal years. So here we are talking about three fiscal years. So we are talking about 2025, 2024, and 2023. Cash flow statements, three fiscal years. Changes in owner's equity, three fiscal years. So cash flow statement, and this is also an equity statement for three fiscal years, 25, 24, and 23. So this is all about 10K. बैलेंस शीट 2 साल का, बाकी सब कुछ 3 साल का आपको फाइल करना रहता है. यू आर सपोज टू गिव ऑडिट रिपोर्ट एज वेल, प्लस यू नीड टू गिव अ सर्टिफिकेशन फ्रॉम द CEO and CFO of the company that everything is accurate in the form 10K. Then we saw 10Q. So 10Q is a quarterly financial reporting that is to be filed by the US registered company, which are the issuers. Large filler है तो 40 days, otherwise you have a 45 days of time. These are unaudited financial statements. So they are generally unaudited financial statements. They has to be filed for the 3 quarters of the year. By default, it's a logical because you have a Q1, Q2, Q3, you cannot file 10K for them. And for the entire year, you cannot file 10Q. So for the quarterly reporting, it's a 10Q. Annual reporting, it's a 10K.
Can you go back to the table?
Mhm.
For cash flow and equity statement and for income statement. So income statement, you mentioned it 4 times, the Q2 2025 and Q2 2024. So for cash flow and equity statement, it's not done.
Sorry, I did not get your question. Can you come again?
आपने इनकम स्टेटमेंट में Q2 2025 Q2 2024 लिखा है,
Mhm.
कैश फ्लो एंड इक्विटी स्टेटमेंट में नहीं है, तो उसमें क्या 2 बार नहीं आएगा?
Yes, it's only Q1 plus C. The thing is, it's a logical thing. Income statement is for the period, and cash flow and changes in equity are the statement as on date. So these statements you do not prepare for a particular period. Cash flow and equity will be on a date. For example, you say as on Q1 2025, as on Q1 2024. Q1 के लिए for the period and as on date are the same things because it's only a one period. But when you talk about Q2, so Q2 income statement is for the period Q2 only, or Q1 period plus Q2 period. But these are as on date. So when you prepare as on date, it by default comes Q1 plus Q2. So it represents as on 30th of June 2025, as on 30th of June 2024. Because these are your balance sheet item, kind of balance sheet item, or kind of as on date statements, and these are for the period statements. So logic remains same, but why you do not have a separate cash flow? You will never see a cash flow for Q1 only. You will always see a cash flow as on date. You will see changes in equity as on date. But when you see a income statement, you will see income statement for the period. You will never see income statement as on date. It's just a logical thing. दोनों है एक ही चीज, बट दिखाने का तरीका अलग है. बिकॉज एक स्टेटमेंट बनता है एज ऑन डेट पे, एक स्टेटमेंट बनता है फॉर द पीरियड पे. ठीक है, लेट्स सी. आगे चलते हैं. नाउ ये रहा प्रेजेंटेशन एंड लेट्स रीड. नहीं समझ आता है छोड़ देना. वेरी वेरी कंफ्यूजिंग. Balance sheet, what we are saying, most recent fiscal quarter. Let's say we are in Q1 25, so it's Q1 25 and the preceding fiscal year, so Q4 24. So current quarter and last financial quarter. So we always say Q1 25, Q2 25, Q3 25. लेकिन आप उसको कंपेयर किससे करोगे? ऑलवेज Q4 24, which is your last fiscal year quarter. Number two, income statement and comprehensive statement. So most recent fiscal quarter for the period between the end of the preceding fiscal. Okay, so let's say it again. Most recent fiscal quarter, let's say Q1 25. For the period between end of the last fiscal year and the end of the most recent fiscal year. So it talks about last fiscal year Q4 में खत्म हुआ, वहां से लेके current quarter. So let's talk this about Q2 के बारे में पढ़ते हैं. So Q2 will be more clear. So they are saying most recent fiscal quarter Q2 25. Then last year का last quarter से लेके ये वाला quarter. So Q4 था last year. So we are talking about Q1 25 से लेके ये quarter Q2 25. So एक Q2 25 standalone, एक Q1 plus Q2 25. And same चीजें for the corresponding last year also. So Q2 25 के सामने Q2 24, Q1 plus Q2 25 के सामने Q1 plus Q2 24. Lot of technical English, इसको ignore कर सकते हो. You can just remember this particular format. Now, statement of cash flow, what it is saying, for a period between end of the last fiscal year and with the current fiscal quarter. So last fiscal year को छोड़ के वहां से जब आपका साल शुरू हुआ वहां से current quarter. So Q4 में आपका last year complete हुआ. So Q1 से लेके let's say if you are doing in Q3, so Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3, और यही चीज का preceding fiscal year. So Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3 2024. No need to read such a lot of English in this backer. रिमेंबर दिस टेबल कि आपको कौन से पीरियड के लिए क्या चीजें फाइल करनी है, एंड यू आर गुड टू गो टू सॉल्व ऑल द एमसीक्यू इन दिस पर्टिकुलर चैप्टर. Now, is this table making sense to you?
Yes.
Yes, no, पक्का एक बार लिखना है. I think if you write it once, you will get confident. Maybe if you need 5 minutes, आप इसको एक बार लिख लो टेबल को. So it will be permanently there in your mind. ठीक है, एक बार आप लिख लो. Once you are done, आप मेरे को बताओ.
या आप ऐसा कर सकते हैं, वो 4 hours की शीट पे आप एक शीट बना के कॉपी कर लेते हैं. I'll just copy it later.
ठीक है, I can do it. That is your choice. चलिए ठीक है. I'll copy it there and I'll send it to you. MDN, it's the same point which we saw about 10K, all quantitative, qualitative disclosure about market risk, financial condition, how company has performed. So I'm not going back again there. And then finally, you go and you file form 8K. 8K 4 दिन के अंदर फाइल करना है. When there is a material event that occurs, kind of bankruptcy, you acquire the asset, you dispose the asset, you change the CPA form, change your securities, you change your board of directors, change of your officers, you amend your articles of incorporations or the bylaws, you change your fiscal year, you amend your prior year financial statements, or you have a material definitive arrangements. इसको हम बाद में देखेंगे, but just understand these are the arrangement जिससे आपकी financial चीजें change होने वाली है. Suppose let's say you are going to be taken over by some company. That's a material definitive arrangement. Or you are shutting down a one segment which is contributing 40% of your revenue. So that's a material definitive arrangements. इसको हम लोग later stage पे detail में देखेंगे. But if any of these events take place, you are supposed to file a Form 8K. And this is all about SEC reporting, which is there in your syllabus. So key things is about reporting requirement कि कौन सी चीजें हमें कब रिपोर्ट करनी है, as well as हमारा जो Form 8K है उसमें क्या क्या चीजें आती है जो आपको within 4 business days में फाइल करनी होती है. Any questions on SEC reporting? कोई भी डाउट, anything you have not understood? चलिए ठीक है. सेम टॉपिक में एक और रिपोर्टिंग रिक्वायरमेंट है. सो लेट्स कवर क्विकली ईपीएस, विच इज योर अर्निंग्स पर शेयर. वेरी वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक, मैथमेटिकल टॉपिक है. मजा आएगा कैलकुलेशन अगर आपको पसंद है तो. सो नाउ व्हाट इज ईपीएस? So EPS का disclosure is required by US GAAP for all the entities and entities which has the public offering. So basically all the issuers, all the public company, you are supposed to show the earnings per share. Now आपको earnings per share जो दिखाना है वो दो तरीके से दिखाना होता है. नंबर वन, कल अगर आपको याद हो हमारा इनकम स्टेटमेंट का फॉर्मेट, we had income from continuing operation plus or minus discontinuing operation gives you net income. तो आपको ईपीएस दिखाना होता है इनकम फ्रॉम कंटिन्यूइंग ऑपरेशन से, और आपको ईपीएस दिखाना होता है नेट इनकम पे. ओसीआई पे आप नहीं दिखाते हो, डिसकंटिन्यूइंग ऑपरेशन पे आप नहीं दिखाते हो. सो ईपीएस इज प्रेजेंटेड ऑन इनकम फ्रॉम कंटिन्यूइंग ऑपरेशन एंड नेट इनकम के ऊपर. Now, sometimes you have a very simple capital structure that you only have a equity share or a common share. But if you have a complex capital structure, let's say you have a convertible securities, or let's say you have a preference stock, then your calculations are slightly tricky. In that situation, you have basic EPS, which is on continuing operation, basic EPS on net income, plus you present diluted EPS from income from continuing operations and diluted EPS on your net income. इसी सेशन में हम लोग कैलकुलेट करेंगे how diluted EPS is worked upon and how basic EPS is worked upon. थोड़ा सा आगे चलते हैं. So what is your basic EPS? So basic EPS says that what is the income available to common shareholders divided by weighted average number of common stock outstanding for the entire year. सो न्यूमरेटर जो है इनकम अवेलेबल फॉर कॉमन स्टॉक होल्डर्स, इसको हम कैसे कैलकुलेट करेंगे? सो वी स्टार्ट विथ नेट इनकम और इनकम फ्रॉम कंटिन्यूइंग ऑपरेशन. दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक एंड यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड अ स्मॉल कॉन्सेप्ट हियर. यू हैव अ प्रेफरेंस स्टॉक। आपके प्रेफरेंस स्टॉक जो है वो दो तरीके के हो सकते हैं। वन प्रेफरेंस स्टॉक कैन बी अ नॉन क्यूमुलेटिव एंड वन प्रेफरेंस स्टॉक कैन बी अ क्यूमुलेटिव प्रेफरेंस स्टॉक। नॉन क्यूमुलेटिव का मतलब क्या होता है कि अगर आपने डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर किया तो ही आपको पे करना है। अगर आपने डिक्लेयर नहीं किया देन प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स आर नॉट एलिजिबल फॉर द डिविडेंड। तो नेट इनकम में से आपको वही डिविडेंड माइनस करना है जो डिक्लेयर हुआ है फॉर नॉन क्यूमुलेटिव प्रेफरेंस स्टॉक्स। हाउएवर, इफ यू हैव अ क्यूमुलेटिव प्रेफरेंस स्टॉक तो आपको डिविडेंड डिक्लेयर करना है वेदर इट इज डिक्लेयर्ड और नॉट। अगेन फर्क क्या है, नॉन क्यूमुलेटिव प्रेफरेंस शेयर का मतलब ये होता है कि उनको डिविडेंड मिलेगा ओनली इफ यू डिक्लेयर। क्यूमुलेटिव प्रेफरेंस शेयर का मतलब ये होता है कि यू हैव नो चॉइस बट टू पे द डिविडेंड। सो वेदर यू हैव डिक्लेयर्ड इन द करंट ईयर और नॉट, आपको हमेशा हमेशा वो डिविडेंड माइनस करना है। इवन इफ देयर इज अ लॉस, देयर इज नो एक्सेप्शन, आपको डिविडेंड हमेशा माइनस करना है इफ इट्स अ क्यूमुलेटिव प्रेफरेंस स्टॉक। सो इफ यू डू दिस एडजस्टमेंट्स यू विल गेट योर न्यूमरेटर। इसके बाद है आपको डिनोमिनेटर कैलकुलेट करना है विच इज योर वेटेड एवरेज नंबर ऑफ आउटस्टैंडिंग शेयर। So what is the formula? So you start with the shares which are outstanding for the period, plus आपने कितने शेयर नए इश्यू किए, माइनस आपने कितने शेयर रीअक्वायर्ड किए, which is nothing but your treasury stock. If you have any share split or let's say a stock dividend issued, that is retroactively adjusted always, because stock dividend या stock split जो है वो नए stock नहीं होते हैं. You are just breaking down the number of stocks from the volume point of view. And if you are taking a treasury stock or a reverse stock split, again you have to adjust your share retroactively. So last 2 point को आप ऐसे समझो कि suppose you had a 10,000 shares at the beginning of the year. Now during the year कोई भी movement नहीं हुआ है. You just say now every shareholder who has a one share will be eligible for two shares. That means आपने नए shares issue नहीं किए हैं. 10,000 के जो शेयर थे लेट्स से पहले $2 ईच के थे, they have become now 20,000 shares at $1 each. So that's a stock split. So you adjust retroactively. Reverse stock splits आपने वैल्यू इंक्रीज कर दिया. नाउ आपका जो पहले 10,000 क्वांटिटी शेयर थी at $2 per unit, that is now worth 5,000 shares of $4 per unit. So amount remains same. It's just a number of shares that are getting changed. So if you have a stock split, stock dividend, or reverse stock split, you just adjust the shares on 1/1, that is beginning of the year basis. पर्टिकुलर फॉर्मूला में कोई भी क्वेश्चन आपको?
Mm.
यस, नो, हेलो?
Stock dividend, stock split किस तरह करता है?
सो स्टॉक डिविडेंड में आपको कंपनी क्या बोलती है कि सपोज यू आर होल्डिंग लेट्स से 1000 शेयर्स ऑफ वॉलमार्ट। स्टॉक डिविडेंड में आपको कैश नहीं मिलेगा, कंपनी विल गिव यू 100 एक्स्ट्रा शेयर्स। सो कंपनी इज नॉट इशूइंग एनीथिंग एल्स, बट कंपनी आपको कैश की जगह आपको डिविडेंड दे रही है, सो योर बेसिस हैज इंक्रीज्ड। या स्टॉक स्प्लिट्स में क्या होता है कि लेट्स से यू हैव 1000 शेयर ऑफ वॉलमार्ट एट $1 ईच, तो आपका इन्वेस्टमेंट है $1000 का। कंपनी सेज कि आज से हमारा जो शेयर है वो $0.5 का होगा, सो योर इन्वेस्टमेंट रिमेन्स एट $1000, लेकिन आपके जो नंबर ऑफ शेयर है वो 2000 हो गया इंस्टेड ऑफ 1000। सो यू आर ब्रेकिंग डाउन द पर यूनिट वैल्यू ऑफ द शेयर विदाउट इशूइंग द एडिशनल शेयर, तो उसको बोलते हैं स्टॉक स्प्लिट्स।
हम्म,
चलिए एक बार आपकी मटेरियल पे आ जाते हैं। अर्निंग्स पर शेयर। So US GAAP, all the public companies having a public float, they are required to report the EPS. EPS कहाँ पर report करते हो? On the face of the income statement. You can have a common capital structure if only and only common stock is outstanding. But if you have a complicated structure, then you may have a basic EPS plus diluted EPS applicable for your company. Diluted EPS को हम थोड़ी देर में देखते हैं. First of all, if you have a simple capital structure, तो आप कैसे गिनोगे? Then you say basic EPS is equal to income available for common stakeholders divided by weighted average number of share for common stockholders. Now, what is income available for common shareholders? It's net income minus dividend if declared for the non-cumulative preference stock. Dividend important one declared है, for non-cumulative तो ही minus करना है. But you have to minus dividends for the cumulative preference stock whether they have been declared or not. Weighted average number of share आपको कैसे कितने हैं? Your beginning share plus new share which are issued minus treasury stock plus stock dividends or a stock splits. We have an example. Let's take a look at the example and the things will be very clear. So suppose you are supposed to calculate only weighted average number of shares which are outstanding for the entire year. You have a beginning share outstanding which were 1 million. So let's open a one Google sheet and let's write down here. So you have beginning shares. So what is your beginning number of share? You are saying 1 million. These are your beginning shares. Now these beginning shares are further stock split into a 2 million of the share. So because it's a stock split, it's just a par value has changed for the stock. There is no new issuance of the stock. So you basically have a 2 million of share. Now जो पहले 1 million का वॉल्यूम था वो चेंज होकर अब आपका 2 million का वॉल्यूम हो चुका है. Now what you need to understand here is this 2 million of shares, they are in business for 3 months. So let's just put instead of 1 million, we'll put 2 million. So this is the number of share for how much period they are outstanding. So they are outstanding for entire 12 months of period. So what is the weighted average of number of shares during the entire year? Entire 12 months. Then on 1st of April, you have issued a further shares. So you have issued 3 million number of share. These are issued on 1st of April. It means they are effective for the 9 months of period. So what is the weighted average number of share? 3 million divided by 12 into 9. So you have equivalent to 2.225 million of shares outstanding. Then you have reacquired a share. So you have a treasury stock. How many shares you have reacquired? 500k. For what period it was outstanding? It was outstanding only for 1 month of period. So 500k divided by 12 into 1 month of period. So 41,000 shares were not there on weighted average basis for entire 1 month. So if you do the calculation, your total weighted average number of shares outstanding for the entire year was 4.2 million. Matching to our solution? Yes, matching to our solution. Again हमने कैसे किया? You had an opening stock of 2 million number of share जो 3 महीने के लिए 3 महीने तक कोई ट्रांजैक्शन नहीं था. So this 3 million number of shares are live for entire 12 months. Neither they were increased nor they were decreased. So 2 million number of shares were there for entire 12 month. फिर आपने 3 million share issue किए on April. So 3 million shares were in place only for 9 months. So what we did, 3 million divided by 12 into 9, 2.2 million. And 500k shares were taken back. तो 500k के शेयर्स कितने पीरियड के लिए नहीं थे? सो 1 मंथ के पीरियड के लिए वो नहीं थे. So we subtracted it. So we get a total number of weighted average outstanding share. Now my this solution is matches to this alternative solution because I prefer this particular method. There is another method which people generally prefer. मैं quickly एक बार आपको walk करवाता हूँ and then you can follow whatever method you like. So what this first method says कि आपका जो 1 million थे और let's say effectively 2 million वो 3 months के लिए applicable थे. So you do 2 million number of share into 3 by 12 which comes to 500k. उसके बाद आपके क्यूमुलेटिव शेयर्स कितने थे? 5 million. हाउ 5 million? 2 million थे प्लस 3 million नए इश्यू हुए. So this 5 million shares were applicable from April to November period. So 5 million divided by 12 into 8, that comes to 3.3 million. उसके बाद आपने 500K के शेयर्स को बायबैक कर लिया, सो यू हैव नाउ क्यूमुलेटिव शेयर्स आउटस्टैंडिंग ऑफ 4.5 million फॉर 1 month. So 4.5 million into 1 by 12 comes to 375K. Again, total comes to 4.2 million. Depends what method is comfortable for you. I generally do not go for a this is a balance sheet approach. वो लोग बैलेंस शीट में देखते जाते हैं कि कितने पीरियड के लिए कौन सा स्टॉक आउटस्टैंडिंग था. आई गो फॉर अ ट्रांजेक्शन अप्रोच, कि कब कब कौन सा ट्रांजेक्शन होता गया है और वो ट्रांजेक्शन कितने पीरियड के लिए एप्लीकेबल है. बोथ द मेथड यू विल गेट द सेम आउटपुट. डिपेंड्स आपको कौन सा मेथड कंफर्टेबल है, यू कैन यूज दैट पर्टिकुलर मेथडोलॉजी. कोई भी डाउट या एग्जांपल नंबर 1 में आपको?
If there was some transaction before the split.
तो भी आपको स्प्लिट को इनटू टू ही करना है, बिकॉज व्हेन यू हैव अ स्टॉक स्प्लिट और अ स्टॉक डिविडेंड, यू डू यू डू नॉट मेक इट अ वेटेड एवरेज, यू जस्ट डू एज इफ इट्स फॉर द फुल ईयर. जैसे कि यहाँ पर आप देखोगे आपका 331 को स्प्लिट हुआ है, बट आपने 9 into 12 नहीं किया है इसको, यू जस्ट डू फॉर एंटायर ईयर. 1 million का आपने 2 million पूरा कर दिया है. वाई? बिकॉज आपका पर यूनिट का वैल्यू चेंज हो रहा है, आपका क्वांटिटी चेंज नहीं हो रहा है. सो इट डजंट मैटर कि ट्रांजैक्शन हुआ है नहीं हुआ है, यू जस्ट हैव टू मल्टीप्लाई और डिवाइड. इफ इट्स अ रिवर्स स्प्लिट यू मल्टीप्लाई, if it's a stock split you sorry if it's a stock split you multiply, if it's a reverse stock split you divide, but you do not take weighted average factor into the consideration.
But what do you mean by the entire year? I will.
एंटायर ईयर का मतलब है कि आपके पास पहले 1 million शेयर थे. जस्ट थिंक ये आपका खुद का इन्वेस्टमेंट है. आपने 1 million शेयर में इन्वेस्ट किया था एट $1 ईच, तो आपने 1 million लगाए थे. नाउ 31 मार्च को कंपनी ने बोला कि आपका जो शेयर है ना वो 0.5 का है, बट आपका इन्वेस्टमेंट तो स्टिल 1 million का है इन टर्म्स ऑफ मनी. तो आपके पास अब शेयर का वॉल्यूम कितना हो गया? 2 million हो गया. So this is called a stock split. So that's why you do not say कि आपके पास 9 months के लिए 2 million शेयर थे. नहीं, शेयर तो आपके पास 1 million थे, अब वो 2 million हो गए, बिकॉज आपका जो पार वैल्यू है वो पार वैल्यू कम हो चुका है. So you have a 2 million share for the entire year unless it is bought back by the company in future.
So in your method, what will you multiply the stock split with?
स्टॉक स्प्लिट में आपको कुछ भी मल्टीप्लाई नहीं करना है. सो यू हैड अ 1 million शेयर विच इज नाउ 2 for 1, मतलब अगर आपके पास एक शेयर था तो अब आपके पास दो शेयर है. सो यू डू 1 million into 2 which comes to 2 million. इफ दिस was 3 for 1 तो आप करते 1 million into 3, तो आपके पास शेयर हो जाते हैं 3 million के.
But then 3 into 12.
3 into 12 नहीं करना है. We do not have to do weighted average calculation for stock splits. Thumb rule: stock dividend, stock split, you do not have to do a weighted average calculations. ठीक है, ऑल क्लियर?
Yes.
देखो यहाँ पर सेकंड नोट में उन्होंने लिखा है stock splits they are always effective 1-1. That means they are always effective for entire year. So अगर आपको weighted average करना है it's always 12/12. ठीक है, चले आगे. कॉन्फिडेंट?
Okay.
चलिए, now let's calculate EPS. Let's take a look at the next example. Now, this is again another logical example, and let's go through a backer only. We have the same things in our PPT. Sometimes what happens कि कंपनी आपको ऑप्शंस देती है या वारंट्स देती है टू परचेज द शेयर एट अ प्राइस विच इज लोअर देन द मार्केट प्राइस. सपोज आपको वॉलमार्ट में इन्वेस्ट करना है, एंड लेट्स से वॉलमार्ट का जो मार्केट प्राइस है वो $10 है, बट लेट्स से आपके पास कुछ वारंट्स या कुछ ऑप्शंस है अंडर विच वॉलमार्ट इज अलाउिंग यू टू सब्सक्राइब द शेयर एट $5 ईच. तो आप क्या प्रेफर करोगे, $5 में शेयर को लेना कि $10 में शेयर को परचेज करना?
5.
$5 में. So that is called an impact of dilution because of the options and warrants given by the company. एग्जाम्पल देखते हैं. वी आर स्किपिंग द थियरी बिकॉज बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेटेड इंग्लिश है, पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है. लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड द एग्जाम्पल एंड यू विल अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आवर कॉन्सेप्ट इज ऑल अबाउट. सो फैक्ट ऑफ द केस क्या बोलता है कि देयर इज अ वन शेयर होल्डर जिसके पास 1000 ऑप्शंस है टू परचेस 1000 कॉमन स्टॉक्स ऑफ अ पर्टिकुलर कंपनी. लेकिन वो 1000 शेयर्स लेने के लिए ही हैज टू पे अ $15 का एक्सरसाइज प्राइस. मार्केट में वही चीज $20 पे मिल रही है. तो देयर इज अ लॉजिक विच सेज कि जो बंदा है वो एक्सरसाइज करेगा, $15 में शेयर को परचेस कर लेगा. So what we are saying that a particular shareholder will be paying $15,000. How 15,000 is coming? 1,000 common number of share into $15 of exercise price comes to $15,000. लेकिन मार्केट में यही चीज $20 में मिल रही है. तो एक आम शेयर होल्डर जो होगा, एक कॉमन शेयर होल्डर, वो क्या सोचेगा कि कंपनी ने भले 1000 शेयर्स इश्यू कर दिए हैं, लेकिन कंपनी कंपनी को पैसा जो मिला है वो पैसा सिर्फ और सिर्फ 750 शेयर का मिला है. तो 250 नंबर ऑफ जो शेयर्स है ये एज इफ फ्री में इश्यू हुए हैं और ये आपके ईपीएस को डाइल्यूट करेंगे. डाइल्यूट कैसे करेंगे वी विल सी इन नेक्स्ट पर्टिकुलर एग्जांपल. बट ये एग्जांपल क्या बोलता है कि आपने एक बंदे को 1000 शेयर्स दिए $15 में, उसने 15,000 पे किए. तो एक कॉमन शेयर होल्डर क्या बोल रहा है कि भाई $15,000 में तो आपको सिर्फ और सिर्फ 750 शेयर मिल सकते हैं. दैट मीन्स कंपनी ने 250 नंबर ऑफ शेयर फ्री में इश्यू कर दिए. नाउ बिकॉज कंपनी ने वो शेयर फ्री में इश्यू कर दिए, देयर विल बी इम्पैक्ट ऑन द ईपीएस. Clear with this particular example? If you are given in the question options or a warrants, then how you need to calculate number of free shares. छोटा एग्जांपल है लेकिन इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम द कॉन्सेप्ट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. अब इसका थियरी देखते हैं. सो आई थिंक नाउ थियरी विल मेक अ मोर सेंस टू यू. ट्रेजरी स्टॉक इज जस्ट मेथड का नेम क्या होता है वी विल सी इन नेक्स्ट चैप्टर जब हम लोग स्टॉक होल्डर्स की इक्विटी करेंगे. So what theory says, if average market price of a stock is greater than the exercise price, then you assume that a rational person will exercise the option at the beginning of the period. We also assume that proceeds received are used to purchase the common stock from the market price. Now, the difference between number of share assumed issued to satisfy the option or the warrants and the number of shares assumed to be purchased with the market price should be included in the diluted EPS. Again, बहुत complicated theory है, so we skip it. We first of all came to example. Example में हमने क्या देखा कि एक बंदे ने $15,000 पे करके 1000 शेयर्स ले लिए, लेकिन अगर वो मार्केट में जाता तो उसको 15,000 में सिर्फ 750 शेयर्स मिलते हैं. दैट मीन्स कंपनी ने 250 शेयर्स जो है वो फ्री में इश्यू कर दिए एंड दिस 250 शेयर इज गोइंग टू हैव अ डाइल्यूटिव ईपीएस इम्पैक्ट. दिस इज द एग्जैक्ट लाइन दे हैव रिटन हियर कि नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स जो आपने अज्यूम किए हैं वर्सेस नंबर ऑफ शेयर जो आपको मार्केट वैल्यू पे मिलते, उनका जो भी डिफरेंस है वो आपके डाइल्यूटेड ईपीएस में एडजस्ट होगा. No need to remember this theory, but yes, it is important to remember the concept. कि अगर आपको क्वेश्चन में एडजस्टमेंट में अगर वो लोग वारंट या ऑप्शंस देते हैं then you have to calculate how many free number of share which company is issuing. Clear?
Yes.
पक्का?
ठीक.
चलिए एक और छोटा सा कॉन्सेप्ट. वी आर स्टिल नॉट गोइंग टू अ फुल एग्जांपल. डाइल्यूटेड ईपीएस सबसे पहले होता क्या है? डाइल्यूटेड ईपीएस का मतलब ये है कि इफ यू हैव इशूड अ कन्वर्टिबल सिक्योरिटी, तो फ्यूचर में वो सिक्योरिटी शेयर्स बन जाएगी बिकॉज इट्स अ कन्वर्टिबल. फॉर एग्जांपल यू हैव इशूड अ कन्वर्टिबल बॉन्ड. तो आज ये चीज बॉन्ड है लेकिन कल को ये चीज कन्वर्ट होके कॉमन स्टॉक बन जाएगी. सो आज वो लोग आपके ईपीएस का पार्ट नहीं है बट कल को जाके ये लोग आपके ईपीएस का पार्ट बनेंगे. सो दिस इज कॉल्ड अ डाइल्यूटेड ईपीएस. डाइल्यूटेड ईपीएस का मतलब जितने भी कन्वर्टिबल सिक्योरिटी होल्डर्स है अगर वो आपके कॉमन स्टॉक के पार्ट बन जाते हैं तो आपका ईपीएस कितना होगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल आज आपका इनकम लेट से 1 मिलियन है और आपका नंबर ऑफ शेयर भी 1 मिलियन है, सो यू आर अर्निंग $1 पर शेयर। बट लेट से कल को जाके आपके जो बॉन्ड्स है वो कॉमन स्टॉक बन जाएंगे, तो आपका इनकम लेट से 2 मिलियन रहता है, बट आपका जो नंबर ऑफ कॉमन स्टॉक है वो 4 मिलियन हो गए। So now you are earning only $0.5 per share. It is called a dilution or a reduction in the EPS of the common stockholders, which is also reported along with the basic EPS. तो पहला फंडामेंटल क्लियर है, व्हाट इज द डाइल्यूशन और व्हाट इज द डाइल्यूटिव ईपीएस। there
Can
has
you
there
what's
has to
the
be a convertible security. Let's take an example. Suppose today आपका जो नेट इनकम है, लेट्स से इट्स 1 मिलियन, आपके जो कॉमन स्टॉक है लेट्स से इट्स 1 मिलियन, सो आपका जो अभी ईपीएस है लेट्स से इट्स 1 पर शेयर। नाउ सपोज आपके पास कन्वर्टिबल बॉन्ड्स है जो फ्यूचर में जाके कॉमन स्टॉक बन जाएंगे, बिकॉज दे आर कन्वर्टिबल इन नेचर। सो व्हाट यू
कन्वर्टेबल
आर,
बॉन्ड्स क्या होते हैं?
कन्वर्टिबल बॉन्ड्स मीन्स जब उनका मेच्योरिटी डेट आएगा तो आप उनको कैश वापस नहीं करोगे, आप उनको इक्विटी शेयर इश्यू करोगे रादर देन इशूइंग द शेयर। You can have a convertible bond, you can have a convertible debentures, you can have a convertible preference shares. So if there is any security which is convertible into the common stock, it is called a convertible security. And convertible securities है तो आपको diluted EPS आपको represent करना पड़ेगा। So what diluted EPS says कि आपका net income let's say future में 2 मिलियन हो जाएगा, क्योंकि आपका इंटरेस्ट एक्सपेंस सेव हो जाएगा, बॉन्ड्स विल नॉट नो लॉन्गर बी गिवन इंटरेस्ट, सो लेट्स से आपका इनकम इंक्रीज हो जाएगा। बट हाइपोथेटिकली आपके जो कॉमन स्टॉक है वो 4 मिलियन हो जाएंगे, तो अभी आप जो $1 पर शेयर अर्न कर रहे हो, फ्यूचर में आप सिर्फ 0.50 अर्न करोगे, विच इज कॉल्ड अ डाइल्यूटेड ईपीएस। जस्ट अ रफ कैलकुलेशन मैंने दिया है आपको, वी विल सी अ फुल कैलकुलेशन इन अ मिनट। बट बेसिकली कॉन्सेप्ट क्या बोलता है कि डाइल्यूटेड ईपीएस इज दैट आइटम कि अगर आपने कन्वर्टेबल सिक्योरिटीज इश्यू की है और फ्यूचर में जाके वो कन्वर्टेबल सिक्योरिटीज अगर कॉमन स्टॉक बन गई, तो आपका अर्निंग पर शेयर अभी से कितना कम हो जाएगा, उसको हम बोलते हैं डाइल्यूटेड ईपीएस। क्लियर विद द कॉन्सेप्ट व्हाट इज डाइल्यूटेड ईपीएस?
Yes.
ठीक है, सो लेट्स सी वन एग्जांपल हियर। आज की तारीख में सपोज यू आर अर्निंग $100, आज की तारीख में आप $20 का इंटरेस्ट पे करते हो आपके बॉन्ड्स पे। सो आज की तारीख पे आपका इनकम बिफोर टैक्सेस है 80, यू आर पेइंग 40% टैक्स विच इज $32, और आज आपका जो इनकम है दैट इज $48। सो लेट्स जस्ट रिप्लेस दिस नंबर हियर। आज की तारीख में आपका इनकम है $48 एंड लेट्स अज्यूम यू हैव अ 20 stocks which are outstanding right now. So today your EPS is $2.40। नाउ अगर ये बॉन्ड कन्वर्ट हो जाते हैं तो क्या होगा? सो दिस इज योर स्टेप नंबर 1 व्हेन यू कैलकुलेट द डाइल्यूटेड ईपीएस, you have to calculate what if your net income will be if this particular security becomes your common stock. So can I say your income will be 100, लेकिन आपका जो बॉन्ड का इंटरेस्ट है $20, that will be zero because you will no longer be paying any interest on your bonds because they are now converted into your common stock.
I'm confused. Is the company paying the interest or the owner of the
बॉन्ड
stock?
होता क्या है पहले? What is the bonds?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like,
Bond is a security which company issues. So company public से it's just like a share. So when you issue the share, common public आपको पैसा देती है, आप उनको shares देते हो, and company also pays the dividend. Bonds या डिबेंचर का मतलब है कंपनी, इट इज ऑल्सो सिक्योरिटी बट इट्स अ नॉन करंट लायबिलिटी काइंड ऑफ अ सिक्योरिटी। तो कंपनी पब्लिक से पैसा लेती है, उसके सामने कंपनी उनको डिविडेंड नहीं देती है, कंपनी उनको इंटरेस्ट देती है। सो सपोज लेट्स से यू से दैट XYZ कंपनी has issued let's say $10,000 of bond at 10% per annum एट 10% इंटरेस्ट। तो इसका मतलब क्या होता है कि कंपनी ने आज सबसे $10,000 ले लिया पहले एंड उनको बॉन्ड इश्यू कर दिए। Now every year company is going to pay them $1,000 of interest, which is your bond expenses. तो कल हमने जो फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग का फॉर्मेट देखा था, वी सॉ नॉन करंट लायबिलिटी, अंडर दैट नॉन करंट लायबिलिटी वी सॉ अ बॉन्ड्स पेबल, वी सॉ अ लॉन्ग टर्म debt payable, debenture payable. So all these are the security which are issued by the company. आप आपने ग्रेजुएशन में बॉन्ड वगैरह हैव यू हैव नॉट स्टडीड एनीथिंग?
बहुत टाइम हो गया, फाइनेंस डिटेल में नहीं पढ़ा मैंने।
ठीक है, नो वरीज, नाउ यू आर क्लियर व्हाट इज बॉन्ड।
यस।
बॉन्ड इट्स जस्ट लाइक सिक्योरिटी, बट आप कॉमन स्टॉक होता है तो आप डिविडेंड देते हो, बॉन्ड होता है तो आप इंटरेस्ट पे करते हो। नाउ अगर ये बॉन्ड आपका कॉमन स्टॉक बन गया, सो कैन आई से आप इंटरेस्ट देना बंद कर दोगे?
यस।
क्लियर, कंफ्यूज्ड?
क्लियर।
आज आपने बॉन्ड इशू किया है टुडे, लेट्स से यू हैव अ $10,000 ऑफ बॉन्ड एंड यू आर पेइंग अ 10% इंटरेस्ट because you have a bond in place, लेकिन ये convertible है, so let's say they are now converted into a common stock, they are no longer a bond, so tomorrow the bonds are zero, so you are paying no interest on that particular bond.
यस।
So your income in the future will be not 80, it will be 100. You will be paying taxes not $32, you will be paying $40 of taxes, and your future income will not be 48, now it will be 60. So your first step when you calculate diluted EPS is to calculate what will be a revised net income if that security is converted into the common stock. So when a security was a bond, your net income was 48. But let's say tomorrow, when a security will be converted into the common stock, then you will have a net income of $60. Now
This is the
today,
net. This is the net income of who?
net income of the company. EPS is reported by the company. So we are all talking about EPS, earning per share for a company. So earning per share क्या बोलता है कि अगर आपने $48 कमाया है पूरे साल में, आपके पास 20 shares outstanding है, तो for every share you are earning $2.40 of net income.
So because of the conversion, our net income has increased.
Yes, because of the conversion, our net income can be increased, would have been increased. It is not done yet. You are pretending. So what you are saying today, you still have a bond in your company. But if tomorrow the bonds are converted to a common stock, तो आपका EPS क्या हो सकता है, that you represent today. So diluted EPS is a projected EPS for the future. So this is actual. Basic EPS is always actual. This is today. Diluted EPS is a projected EPS, that if your securities are converted into a common stock tomorrow, then what would be your EPS in future. So अगर आपकी ये सिक्योरिटीज जो है, अगर वो कॉमन स्टॉक में कन्वर्ट हो गई, तो आपका नेट इनकम 48 से 60 हो जाएगा। बट आपके जो कॉमन स्टॉक है, लेट्स से वो 20 से बढ़कर लेट्स से 30 हो जाएंगे। सो वो पर्टिकुलर केस में आज जो आप $2.40 अर्न कर रहे हो, कल को जाके आप अर्न करोगे सिर्फ $2, विच इज कॉल्ड अ डाइल्यूशन इन योर अर्निंग और अ डाइल्यूटेड ईपीएस।
Okay.
क्लियर विद द कॉन्सेप्ट नाउ?
Yes.
चलिए एक एग्जांपल देखते हैं फुल फ्लेज, एंड आई थिंक द थिंग्स विल बी मोर एंड मोर क्लियर। आई एम क्लीनिंग ऑफ दिस एंटायर थिंग, और यहाँ पर हम लोग इसको रिजॉल्व करने का ट्राई करते हैं। A company has an outstanding 1 lakh common stock. So let's say you have a common stock 1 lakh and $500,000 6% bonds. Also you have a bonds. This is numbers. Let's put amount. So you have a bonds today. Bonds का value क्या है? You have a 500K bonds. This is the dollar amount. which are 6% interest. So this bond, the company has to pay 6% interest to the bondholders. Now they can be converted into a 10 share for each $1,000 बॉन्ड. मतलब एक बॉन्ड का वैल्यू $1,000 है, कंपनी ने 5 लाख के बॉन्ड इश्यू करके रखे हैं. So can I say company has right now issued 500 quantity of the bond? ये क्लियर है रिवर्स मैथमेटिक्स. 5
नहीं
lakh is the
that
total value of the bond. What is the total value of the bond? आप क्वेश्चन रीड करके बताओ. व्हाट इज द टोटल वैल्यू ऑफ द बॉन्ड?
500,000.
500,000. एक बॉन्ड का वैल्यू कितना है?
$1,000.
सो आपने कितने क्वांटिटी इश्यू किए रहेंगे?
500.
500 exactly. This is what we are getting. 5 lakh is the total value. एक का प्राइस 1000 है, तो कैन वी से आपने 500 नंबर और 500 क्वांटिटी ऑफ बॉन्ड्स आपने इश्यू किए रहेंगे.
Okay.
यहाँ तक क्लियर है क्वेश्चन आपको?
Yes.
वापस पढ़ते हैं क्वेश्चन को. अ कंपनी हैज अ आउटस्टैंडिंग शेयर ऑफ 1 lakh and 500,000 of 6% bond which are convertible into 10 share for each $1,000 bond. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि फ्यूचर में देयर इज अ चांस कि जो 500 बॉन्ड्स है, so in future there is a chance that if you have a one bond you can get a 10 common stock. ये मैं कहां से लेकर आया? यहाँ पर दिया है कि each जो आपका बॉन्ड है it is convertible into a 10 units of share. So if you are holding a one bond you can get a 10 stocks. So suppose if you are somebody is holding a 500 bonds, तो फ्यूचर में आपको कितने स्टॉक्स इश्यू करने पड़ सकते हैं? 5,000. How 5,000 came? 500 into 10. So these are potential number of share which can be issued upon conversion. तो जब बॉन्ड होल्डर्स जो है वो कन्वर्ट होंगे कॉमन स्टॉक में, तो जिनके पास 500 बॉन्ड है उनको 5,000 नंबर ऑफ कॉमन स्टॉक इश्यू किए जाएंगे. यहाँ तक क्लियर है?
Yes.
What you are supposed to calculate? You are supposed to calculate a diluted EPS assuming 34% of the tax rate. Now आपको net income दी गई है. Yes, net income for the year is 100K. So let's calculate a base EPS and let's calculate diluted EPS. So what is the formula for base EPS? It says that net income divided by number of common stock. So what is the net income? Let's identify. Net income आपको दी गई है 100,000. What are your number of shares? Number of common stocks अभी है 100K. So what is the basic EPS today? So your basic EPS today is $1 per share. Now what is the diluted EPS? So diluted EPS में हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि what will be our predicted income? So what is our predicted income? So our net income today is 100,000. अगर ये बॉन्ड होल्डर्स नहीं रहते हैं, so you are not going to incur your interest expense in future. So interest will be saved in the future. आप कितना इंटरेस्ट पे कर रहे हो? 500,000 का आपका बॉन्ड है जिसके ऊपर आप 6% इंटरेस्ट पे कर रहे हो. So 500,000 के ऊपर आप 6% इंटरेस्ट पे कर रहे हो, which is $30,000 will be increased your net income because आप इंटरेस्ट एक्सपेंस इनकर नहीं करोगे. However, उसके साथ साथ आपको टैक्स इम्पैक्ट भी देनी पड़ेगी because आप $30,000 सेव करोगे. You have to pay 34% tax on the savings which you have generated. 34% कहाँ से आया? क्वेश्चन में दिया गया है कि आपको 34% सेविंग्स दिखा टैक्स रेट्स दिखाना है. सो 30,000 के ऊपर आप 34% का टैक्स पे करोगे. सो व्हाट इज योर नेट टू बी इनकम और नेट प्रेडिक्टेड इनकम? your net predicted income will be 1,19,800. So your predicted income will be 1,19,800. आपके फ्यूचर में शेयर्स कितने होंगे? तो अभी तो ऑलरेडी आपके 1 लाख है, और फ्यूचर में ये बॉन्ड होल्डर्स कन्वर्ट हो जाएंगे 5,000 कॉमन स्टॉक में, तो आपके टोटल नंबर ऑफ शेयर्स हो जाएंगे 1,05,000. सो व्हाट विल बी योर डाइल्यूटेड ईपीएस? इट विल बी $1.14. लेट्स चेक हमारा आंसर मैच कर रहा है कि नहीं. इट इज $1.14. सोल्यूशन में कोई भी पॉइंट ना समझ में आया हो, एनी वर्किंग, एनी स्टेप, आप मेरे को बताओ, बिकॉज यहाँ पर सिमुलेशंस आ सकते हैं and it will be a big simulations.
If it's not converted, then it would just be 100,000 net income again.
Yes, so this you are just showing as a projection. So आज ये हुआ नहीं है, conversion has not taken place. You are just assuming कि today your shareholders are earning $1 for every share they hold. But in future, if conversion happens, then this will be their predicted earnings in the future. So this is just a projection you show today on your income statement as a diluted EPS.
Okay.
Clear है calculations पूरे?
Yes.
Now one last point. Your diluted EPS has to be less than or equal to basic EPS. If this is not true, so if this is not true, then you don't report diluted EPS. Let's see in our example. Your diluted EPS is 1.14. Is it less than 1? No. So in this particular example, company can not report a diluted EPS. Because word का मतलब क्या है? Dilution का मतलब your share, your investment percentage is getting reduced because of the outsider. But if you are earning more, then it is not called diluted EPS. It is called anti-diluted EPS, and these are not reported. Again, not going into a too much of complication, आपका diluted EPS जो है वो basic EPS से कम होना चाहिए, तो ही आप उसको report कर सकते हो. So let's see, your 1.14 is your diluted EPS, your basic EPS is 1. So what last line says? Diluted EPS with conversion of the bond is more than the basic EPS. Hence, these are anti-dilutive and this would be excluded from the presentation. In nutshell, आपका diluted EPS जो है वो basic EPS से कम होना चाहिए है. Then and then only you report that particular item in your income statement. Clear है?
So we will not mention diluted EPS at all.
No, we will not. We will just mention in notes to accounts that diluted EPS is anti-dilutive and hence it is not reported. चलिए, we have one last example. I'll give it to you. Take 5-7 minutes of time. इसको resolve कीजिए. Example number 4. And if you have a question, I will help you out. So over to you.
You don't get the dividend subtracting part.
चलिए आ जाते हैं स्लाइड पे वापस। न्यू आपका फॉर्मूला क्या है? इनकम अवेलेबल फॉर कॉमन शेयर होल्डर डिवाइडेड बाय वेटेड एवरेज नंबर ऑफ शेयर। सो इनकम अवेलेबल फॉर कॉमन शेयर होल्डर का फॉर्मूला क्या है? नेट इनकम माइनस डिविडेंड फॉर प्रेफरेंस शेयर्स ओनली। सो क्वेश्चन में क्या दिया गया है? यू हैव अ नेट इनकम ऑफ 100,000, सो यू हैव अ नेट इनकम ऑफ 100,000। What is the dividend for the preference shareholders? Only 20,000. कॉमन स्टॉक होल्डर का डिविडेंड हम लोग सब्ट्रैक्ट नहीं करते हैं। There is nowhere it is written to subtract the common stockholders dividend. We only have to subtract preference shareholders dividend. So what is the preference shareholders dividend? 20,000. So 1 lakh minus 20,000, 80,000 becomes your income available for equity shareholders or a common stockholders, which is your numerator. Clear how 80,000 is arrived here?
But why are we not doing it in the diluted EPS?
डायल्यूटेड ईपीएस में भी हम लोग करेंगे ये चीज। सो फर्स्ट टू फोकस ऑन द बेसिक ईपीएस, डायल्यूटेड पे बाद में आता है। अभी आप बेसिक ईपीएस पे रहो, वेदर बेसिक ईपीएस इज रिजॉल्व और नॉट। बेसिक ईपीएस आपका सॉल्व है। 80,000 इज योर इनकम अवेलेबल फॉर इक्विटी शेयर होल्डर divided by common stock, which is 1 lakh. So your 0.80 is your basic EPS.
Okay.
Clear है? Let's just put information here. So what we are saying is base EPS, and let's just say diluted EPS. Let's write down here net income less preference dividend. So you get income for common stockholders. You have number of common stocks, and you get a base EPS. What is your net income? 1 lakh. What is the preference dividend? It's 20,000. So income available for common stockholders are 80,000. What are your number of share? 1 lakh. So what is your base EPS? 0.80. Now let's say we need a predicted income or a projected income. So what is our net income today? It's 1 lakh. Now let's go back to the question. आप मुझे आंसर करो, अगर प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स जो है वो कॉमन स्टॉक में कन्वर्ट हो जाते हैं, विल यू बी पेइंग प्रेफरेंस डिविडेंड इन फ्यूचर? अगेन,
No.
प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स अगर फ्यूचर में कॉमन स्टॉक होल्डर्स बन जाते हैं, विल यू बी पेइंग प्रेफरेंस डिविडेंड इन फ्यूचर?
No.
No. So your preference dividend, let's use same format. Your preference dividend will be zero in future. So what is the income available for common stockholder in future? It will be full 1 lakh. So this is where full 1 lakh is coming. In future income available for common stockholders. But आपके number of shares कितने हो रहे हैं? You already have 1 lakh share plus आपके पास preference shares कितने हैं? So currently you have a 10,000 number of preference shares which will be converted into a 5 shares of common stock. That means can I say 10,000 आपके पास है, एक के सामने आपको 5 शेयर मिलेंगे. So total 50,000 number of additional shares will be issued.
Yes.
Yes. So can I say your future number of common stock will be 1 lakh, which is current, but 50,000 extra number of share will be issued. So your diluted EPS will be 0.67. Now, this diluted EPS is less than basic EPS. Yes. So you can report the diluted EPS on your financial statements. यहाँ पर एक typo error है. This is not convertible debentures. This is convertible preference shares. And your diluted EPS is 0.67. Because 0.67 is less than 0.80, you report a diluted EPS. क्लियर है? ये आ सकता है. इट्स नॉट कॉम्प्लिकेटेड, जस्ट आपको थोड़े बहुत कॉन्सेप्ट्स की प्रैक्टिस करनी है, मैथमेटिक्स की प्रैक्टिस करनी है. अदरवाइज दिस आर वेरी वेरी सिंपल एग्जांपल्स टू सॉल्व.
If an EPS is dilutive, how do we interpret it? That it has increased our net income or decreased our net income?
It decreases. Dilutive का मतलब है कि आपकी earnings कम हो रही है. So today every shareholder is earning $0.80 for one share they hold. So suppose you are one of the shareholders of this 1 lakh people. So you are earning $0.80 per share today. If in future the preference shareholders gets converted into a common stock, you will earn only $0.67 and not 0.80. So your earnings are diluted in future, hence it is called a diluted EPS.
Okay.
All right, so this is it for your entire EPS slides. We have not covered. It has the same thing. It's the same example which we solve and same diluted EPS. All these things are exactly what we sold in this particular example today. This is the warrants, 250 extra number of share which we saw. This is the same example we saw 5 minutes back. It's anti-dilutive EPS, and right hand side it's a current example, $0.67. I have few MCQs for you to solve in your homework. There are 6 MCQs, and you have to solve the simulations for this particular item. I'm sure Becker will have multiple number of simulations for the EPS. So for your homework for today is to solve the 6 MCQ plus Becker MCQ plus Becker simulation. And tomorrow and Sunday is the off. Tomorrow you have an exam. Exam for what point? Whatever we have done so far. So it includes basic concepts. It includes income statement, balance sheet,
Exam
OCI.
is tomorrow.
Exam is tomorrow, yes. Till
Okay.
today, whatever we have done, that is due tomorrow. So today, make sure you practice everything, MCQ simulation of whatever has been done so far. If you need a 1 day, we can do exam on Sunday. Maybe you can take off tomorrow. I am okay. But जो भी अब तक हुआ है उसका एग्जाम रहेगा. It will be close to 50 marks, maybe 1.5 hour, consisting of around 30 MCQs, and there will be 2 or 3 simulations.
No, like, will you just give me the exam to do it by myself, or you want to do it in a class? I'm not understanding.
No, I will give you the question paper. Mostly, I will give you a tool which I have developed. If that is working on your system, then I'll give you a tool directly. If it is not, then I'll give you a Excel or a Word. You just have to fill the answers and give it back to me.
Because I have to do the M2 MCQs, so then I would not have time to revise all of the thing for if we are
What
having an
is
exam tomorrow.
M2 का क्या है एक बार आप दिखाओगे what is that in M2?
No, like the topic we covered right now, so the MCQs, the simulations, then I'll have to cover the
Yeah.
topic itself.
So we can have an exam on Sunday. So you do today and tomorrow all the practice. Tomorrow we don't have a session. So let's have an exam on Sunday. But whatever we have done so far, we will have an exam on this Sunday for sure.
Okay.
All right, I'll send you recordings, maybe 2 hours of time it takes to generate PPT and everything.
Can you add my email to the folder because I don't have it doesn't give me
आप
access.
WhatsApp कर
I'll
दीजिए आपका email. I'll give a link of folder to you.
okay.
चलिए, all right. Have a good day भाई. मिलते हैं फिर
Mm.
with the next session on Monday. चलो bye.